And we're just on.
We're on. Oh,
It does look like
And we're
it.
live.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Carl, and good morning, everyone. On this beautiful, nice and warm morning, and right in rural Ontario, Eastern Ontario, we had it's almost minus 15 here, so it was a good and nice drive for us. The road were clear, so we're good to go. I thank the board member that they joined us this morning, and of course our staff and that watching us this morning live on YouTube on our YouTube channel. So this is will be our last meeting for December. Hopefully 2020 was really challenging for not only us, for everyone in Ontario, also in Canada and across the world. I know that most of you and a lot of people can relate to that. Lots of people waiting till 2020 will be behind us, and we'll welcome 2021. We'll maybe better, and hopefully we'll have organization, and we'll have a better challenging ahead of us. And I'm hoping that we do see the light at the end of the tunnel, long tunnel. But I know together we actually we were very resilient, and we stick together, and we were able to conduct our business, especially from the CAs. We had a very, very busy year in 2020. We have some updates for you this morning. Angela will be sharing with you some from our attendance with the Conservation Ontario, and specifically on about Bill 229. We have some good news that we'll be sharing with our board member and our staff, of course, and our member that's watching us this morning. I also want to take this moment to welcome my colleague, Catherine Kitts. Catherine, welcome this morning. It's my first official, I could say, welcome, because every time you come in and go out, I didn't notice you. So I want to thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on your by-election, successful by-election. We're looking forward to work with you, and I know that you're going to do very well for Cumberland, Eastern Ontario, and Conservation, or South Nation Conservation Authority. So you're very welcome this morning. I also, on behalf of the board, I want to thank our staff. I want to thank our General Manager, Angela Coleman, and of course her team. We sent our very busy in the last few weeks, and delivered a small basket to board members, and we really appreciate it on behalf of the board. We thank you very much for the hard work you've done, and then it's a little gesture, but we're very happy with the Ontario and local product that it was delivered to our members. So without further ado, I'm going to probably move forward, but I also want to take a moment to wish all of you, your family, to take some time in the next few weeks, reflect, relax, and enjoy your family, and be safe. And let's hope and 2021 will be better, and wish you all Merry Christmas, and I'm sure we'll see you the next year. So without further ado, we can move to our number 2, approval of SNC Board Director main and supplemental agenda. Any changes, and so we can have, everybody's okay with the agenda? So can I have a mover and a seconder? I see Bill moving, and a seconder by, I see Jerry. All in favor? Agenda carried. Thank you very much. Declaration of conflict of interest. Any? Seeing none. Thank you very much. And we move to number 4, SNC project update, PowerPoint presentation by staff, this is as always the most exciting session in our meeting, that we can hear from our staff to give us a quick update on their hard work and what they're doing in the community and in our watershed. So without further ado, go ahead. I think we start with John.
Yes, thank you. Hello, and good morning, everyone. I have a few updates to share this morning, and I'm starting off with a truly positive one on our tree planting orders reserved for next spring. On average, most of you will know that we plant between about 100 and 120,000 trees every spring on private and public land. And while we did set a record this year by planting just about 160,000 trees at the beginning of the pandemic this year, we set our sights on a pretty ambitious goal for 2021. And on behalf of Cheyenne and our forestry team, I'm really happy to announce that we are on track to reach and exceed our goal of planting 200,000 trees next year, as we already have about 207,000 trees reserved. Those numbers include trees we plant on our own properties and in the Rose Forest, trees we plant through the 50 million tree program and refill trees on private property, and trees that people can order through our over-the-counter program, where people are responsible for planting their own trees. So if you're watching online and looking to get your order in, there's definitely still some time to order trees through the over-the-counter program, and people are welcome to connect with us in January to discuss further.
That's very good news, John. Thank you very much. And this is really, like you said, it's very good news to start our meeting. And I know that we've been so happy to see you and Cheyenne are ahead of the game and then helping our community for planting more trees. This is welcoming news, I'm sure, to all the listener and I'm sure to our watershed. If any question for John and Cheyenne from the board members.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it's Archie Mellon. John, when is the deadline? You said into January you're still taking orders. When's the deadline or when's the cutoff, I guess, if you will?
Sure. For our larger planting sites, we do have to do mandatory site visits. So if you're looking to plant, several acres or plant several thousand trees, we probably wouldn't be able to fit you in the spring. But of course, we encourage people to reach out. But those over-the-counter orders, meaning people wanting to pick up 100 or 50 or 200 trees at a time, you're welcome to place your order right up until probably January, February, Archie. And it really is going to depend on how much stock we can secure.
Thank you. Supplement, Archie? Thank you, John. Do you have a question? No. Okay. Thank you very much, John and Cheyenne. We'll move to the next one. I think it's also John.
Yeah, just a quick update on our Ottawa ash tree replacement program that we deliver on behalf of the Ottawa Conservation Authority partners. Karen is happy to report that all of our program funding has been successfully allocated and 51 projects were completed this year. The photo features 2 cute and happy dogs, if you can spot them, but also a replacement tree planted in Greeley, not too far from you, George. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I see the happy dogs and the beautiful picture in the morning with the board member and with everyone watching on YouTube. So thank you very much. Our next presentation is with Pat from our team lead.
Good morning, everyone. Just an update on our partnership with the SDG County Forest. We're heading into 2021 in a very good position. We plan our operations on a 5-year basis, and I'm proud to report that as we enter into the final year, we're 90% complete of the work that was planned. In 2020, 1 harvest was completed. We have 2 harvests that will be completed in the first quarter of 2021. 1 tender going out, and we'll be presenting council with a proposal to enter into a maple syrup harvest contract. In the next year, we'll be developing a new 5-year operating plan that will be delivered to council by the end of 2021. And council has directed us to develop a forest use policy, seeing the increase in people that are accessing the forest and some of the conflicts that occur with the various different uses.
Thank you very much, Pat. If any question for Pat from the board member? Pat, I do have a quick question for you. I know that's probably you won't have. During in 2020, throughout our programs and our, of course, operation and the harvesting, is COVID put a little delay on any project that we are carrying, or we were able to catch up and be on delivering all our projects?
There have been no delays.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Pat. Okay, that's good news. Next presentation will be again by Pat.
Yes, this is just an update on the forest operations on the South Nation Forest. As I reported before, we had an operation underway in South Dundas that has been completed. This was a second thinning in a forest. It was thinned about 20 years ago. I'll just direct you to the picture in the on the slide. It's a picture of the forest with, in the background is the white pine and red pine conifer plantation. This is looking at after the thinning. I was there doing a harvest inspection. But I'd like to draw your attention to the colorful trees in the foreground, which is the regeneration that's coming up under the pine plantation as we do these thinnings. And you can see that we've protected this regeneration. This is almost textbook work that we've done. The results are fantastic with a new forest coming up, creating a diverse and sustainable forest.
Thank you very much, Pat. I have a question from Ashrae.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Pat, I was just wondering that a harvest that took place on the Hulbert Road, there was I guess it would be called a temporary entranceway put in there. Maybe it's not temporary, but there was logs put in the ditch, I guess, to make the entranceway bigger for the trucks to get into. That is still there, and the laneway, I guess, if you will, back into the forest now. It got chewed up badly during the harvest because it turned wet, wouldn't you know? I just wondering about the logs that are in the ditch, and will they be taken out, and by whose expense? And the laneway or the pathway back in there, will that be, I guess, if you will, rehabilitated? It's chewed up pretty good. I'm just concerned about the road ditch, if you will.
Yeah. The road ditch, that work will be done. The infrastructure is our responsibility under the contract, and the contractor does his best to rehabilitate the road to the extent that the contract is required. We do plan to do some work in the future, making that access further into the forest in planning for the next operation that will take place in that forest.
Supplemental, if you will, Mr. Chair. Pat, will that be done before the winter, like before spring? The way that ditch is right now with the logs in there to make it bigger or a wider driveway, it could cause issues with the road ditch in the spring melt.
Yes, it will be done immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you, Archie. Any more questions for Pat? Seeing none, thank you very much, Pat. Our next presenter, John, the floor is yours.
Thank you. An update on the new conservation area being developed in the Augusta Township. Work is still moving along, and we'll be wrapping up our reporting to the funder this month for the federal grant that was received to support this work. Township staff were kind enough to help us build the parking lot you can see in the picture there last month, which will provide future access to this area just off of McRae Road. There's still some more work to be done in the spring, but we're looking forward to opening the site later in 2021 to provide canoe and kayak access to the South Nation River and help area residents paddle up to the Spencerville Mill. While we still plan to host an official opening next year, I do want to take a moment to thank the Township of Augusta for donating this land and for the project support that municipal staff have provided this year. Thank you. And next slide, please.
Thank you, John. I have a question for you before you move to the next slide, if you don't mind. I have
certainly.
How large is that park?
It's not very large. It's probably comparable to the size of, Macintosh Park ×2, if you can kind of scale that in your mind. It's about 10 acres.
Any compliment? Oh, that's very good news, John. I'm very happy to see this. This is going to help in 2021. I know people like to enjoy the nature and going out to kayaking and exercise. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next update, also, John, go ahead. please.
Thank you. To accommodate some of the much needed hazard tree management at the W. Burton Conservation Area in Russell, we recently closed the popular trail for 2 weeks to help complete this work. With the support of staff and contractors, about 200 dead or dying trees were removed from this property, and the site was reopened to the public last Friday. Most of the trees removed were ash trees infected by the emerald ash borer. However, there were other trees removed that posed a risk to public safety or were dying or diseased and also needed to be removed. There will be some additional restoration work planned in 2021, and this park, along with several others, as you can see from the memo I circulated recently, will remain open through the winter to provide recreational access. Mike Leger is also back on our team, and he's really looking forward to some winter trail grooming this season. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I have a question for you before you move to your next update. It's Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are there any younger ash that are still alive here that perhaps should be considered for the vaccination inoculation process?
Sure. I mean, there's definitely ash trees in all of our properties. The only ash trees that we recently decided to treat with the tree asin you're referencing was in McIntosh Park. We had some fairly healthy, larger trees that were showing some resistance to the emerald ash borer. So we've treated those trees, but we do not plan to treat other trees within the forest part of our parks.
Supplement?
Well, the only question I would have is why? Because ash has been a popular tree, and if I remember correctly, the expense wasn't that great. And I wondered why a few others might not be considered, perhaps as an experiment.
Certainly. Any landscape trees, Bill. So McIntosh Park is a good example. If we had ash trees out in the open at High Falls or Jessups Falls, for example, we might be able to consider, as long as the tree was healthy, we could look into treatment. But when it comes to the trees within the natural forest landscape, we are hoping that, the mature trees in the forest can help with new ash succession, but there weren't any healthy ash trees in either of our parks in Russell, unfortunately. So it was a little bit too late to try and treat those. But when we look at treatment, we're really looking at landscape trees that are already out in the open.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Very good update, and thank you. We appreciate the update. So it's next update. It's also you.
Sure. Unfortunately, we weren't able to collect all of our October data in time for our last board meeting, so I included the stats from October and November in this presentation deck. And as you can expect, visitor numbers remain high, but still manageable through October. October was a pretty popular time for people to still get outside and experience the changing fall colors in our conservation areas, which the stats support there. Next slide, please. While we usually closed our seasonal conservation areas at the end of October, we did opt to keep all of our areas open through November. And thankfully, we did start to see some of our expected visitors numbers level out a little bit. Unfortunately, we did turn off some of our car counters at our river access sites once we removed our docks, so we don't have the full picture on visitation. And even worse, unfortunately, if you look at the Warwick stats, we did have someone destroy the trail counter at Warwick Forest last month. But aside from that, this chart still provides a pretty good snapshot of our expected visitor trend, especially for the parks that will remain open through the winter. And next slide, please. Last, I just wanted to include an update on our annual stats to date. And while this year isn't over, we thought we would share this just to give you an idea of how much traffic has gone through our areas. Bear in mind, if you're looking at the chart on the screen, in 2014 and 2015, we only monitored our parks seasonally between May and October. And when looking at the numbers from 2020, note that we do have some lost data from damages to our trail counters. A few areas that aren't monitored and still the missing data from November and December. But this clearly shows, even with that all being said, that our parks received well over twice as many visitors this year compared to any other previous year on record. So on behalf of our property team, I think we've been really thankful to have been provided the opportunity to maintain these spaces throughout 2020 and the pandemic. And if I may, I do really want to say thank you to everyone at SNC, board and staff that have supported the management of these areas this year. It's been really appreciated. And I think not just by us, but I'm sure by the nearly 200,000 visitors that walked through our trails or accessed our waterways this year. So thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Any question to John? You know what, I just, no question, but I do want to make a quick comment. Thank you also and the team for actually keeping those parks and our sites open for visitors. You know what, I've demonstrated in COVID and during this tough time that we went through in the summer, there is nothing better than going in the nature and enjoy the outdoor in our communities, of course, especially in Eastern Ontario and in our watershed, and that demonstrate the hard work you guys done throughout the year, that you were able to facilitate and people come out, enjoy the nature and enjoy our watersheds here. So congratulations, this is a very good news from the board member. We thank you all.
Thank you.
Our next update is Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just this week, we installed some new cutting-edge radar equipment at the Chesterville Dam. So in the photo, you can just barely see a gentleman there. He's installing a box onto the side of the dam. So that radar picks up information on the flow of the water through the dam, and that information comes almost directly to South Nation's database, and we use that to help improve our flood forecasting and warning program. So staff are very excited with the new technology, and it should improve our efficiency this coming spring.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Any question? Mr.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Is that part of the 60,000 we approved at the last meeting?
Sorry, say that again, Bill?
Is that installation part of the 60,000 we approved at the last meeting for work on the dam?
No, this was separate. There's a pardon?
In addition to
Yes.
what we approved, or from earlier?
Sorry, it's Carl. I'll turn my camera on. The approval for last month was Sandra's report, and I believe that is, the work you're referring to was the furnace repair and electrical upgrades at the Chesterville Dam. So that work is under a separate contract and a separate approval.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michelle, I have one more question to you from Archie.
Yeah, I guess sort of to follow up on what Bill was saying, where was the approval for this? I don't remember, and that's not unusual, but I don't remember us approving a radar technology for the river, and how much did that cost? Where is that in the budget for 2020?
So this was in our equipment budget under our flood forecasting and warning program. So it was all told, it was just under $10,000, the complete installation.
Okay.
Archie, we're good? Thank you, Michelle. Our next presenter is John again.
Thank you. Last few updates for me, and I can take questions at the end of the slides if that's convenient. We just wanted to take a moment to let you know that we will be taking our work and findings from our Natural Heritage Project out for public consultation in the new year. This is the County Partners Planning Study that we're completing on behalf of the United Counties of SDNG and Prescott-Russell. Our team has recently published some of the engagement tools onto our website, and you're now welcome to check them out at nation.on.ca/NHS. Next slide, please. We've posted some of the draft maps that we'll be sharing with our stakeholders in the new year for feedback. And we'll be sharing these maps in the public information sessions that we will host online in February. The maps show the proposed core natural heritage areas in our region and how they're connected on the landscape. Next slide. You can expect to see some more information from us on this in the new year after we meet with the counties to review our engagement plan. And in the meantime, you're welcome to check out the project website in advance of the public meetings. Our staff have developed some pretty neat interactive story maps to explain the project and to give people an idea and understanding of what sort of policy updates can be expected. There's also an interactive portal on our website for people to report any keystone animal locations and links on how to engage with us to provide feedback on the maps. Should you have any questions on the project, feel free to reach out and let us know.
Thank you very much, John. I have a question from Archie for you.
Sorry to be jumping in here again. John, when you're going to be bringing this out in the new year, how you're going to be engaging with the public, because this could have some significant impact on certain areas within SDNG or any areas that it encompasses. But how are you going to be able to advertise this or make sure that the public has an ample opportunity to comment on this, especially if it's going to have impact on any landowners or whatnot?
Of course, yeah. There's a couple different ways for people to engage with us, but in January, we'll give you a report that identifies how the advertising will go ahead. But basically, we've got ads in about 12 different newspapers that will run mid-January with details on the public meetings, and we will host one meeting for SDNG and one meeting for Prescott Russell. We also have a pretty extensive stakeholder engagement list that's going out basically to every local Federation of Agriculture, every local stewardship, fish and game group, et cetera. And those lists are going to be provided to the counties in January so that they can vet how that engagement is going to go ahead. But basically, Archie, there'll be a few months where we're going to be able to connect with people in separate meetings and also online.
I take it, if you will, Mr. Chair, I take it it'll be on the county's website and maybe the local municipality's website, or have you asked them to make sure that it's on their website so that people don't miss it?
No, absolutely. An email's gone out to every local municipality with details for them to get a little separate web page up on their websites as well, just to make sure we can capture everybody, and counties are going to be helping with the promotion as well. You can expect, Archie, a memo to council as well in January. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Very good question, Archie. Thank you very much. Don't feel bad asking questions. That's why we have meetings, board meetings. Next question is by Past Chair Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's more a comment. I looked at the pictures of 3 moose on page 12, and we all know that if you go to the Lorozo Forest, Moose Creek area, you'll see lots of moose. But some people don't realize that now there's a small herd near Newington, which isn't too far from where we're sitting right here at South Nation, and another small herd south of Chesterville and between Chesterville and number 2 in some forest area there in South Dundas. So if you're an outdoorsy type and you wish to see moose, think of your snowshoeing and skiing this winter, and good luck.
And I'm sure lots of snowmobilers will see them and meet them on the trail. That's
good point.
That's a good, will be a good scene. So thank you very much, John. Next, it's still your update.
I think it's the last of my updates, so just a quick slide to remind the board that we did complete our public consultations last month for the updated natural hazard maps for Finley Creek and the North Castor River in the city of Ottawa, and Clarence Creek and Pelon Creek in the city of Clarence Rockland. Videos and draft maps from the public open houses are still available on our website and YouTube channels in case you missed it. And just to report that in addition to the people who tuned in to watch the meetings, ask questions, and send us emails back and forth, staff also did meet individually with 15 different property owners to review the maps. Thank you.
John, any question? John, I do have a quick comment. I do want to thank you and Sandra and the team, of course, for those successful open house, especially during this challenging time in COVID, virtually or personally. But I know that the South Nation staff went beyond and as far as meeting one-on-one with land have concern. So I, on behalf of the board member and of course our resident, thank you, because you did an amazing job during this pandemic and due diligence and taking the time to dealing with those residents, especially at this pandemic and this difficult time. It's really, really appreciated and demonstrate very leadership, and actually we're very, very impressed with that. So thank you very much and the team for this. I'm sure Angela should be very proud and happy with that. So thank you. Yeah. Next presenter will be Michelle.
Thank you. So this is just an update on our applications to the National Disaster Mitigation Program. So the federal government recently announced an opening for intake 6 to this grant program. We submitted 5 proposals. They were due on December 1st, and they had a combined total value of just under $2.4 million. So there's a report in the supplemental agenda that'll go over all of those projects in some more detail.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Question. Next, thank you, Michelle. Next presenter is Allison.
Good morning, members of the board. I know last meeting it was requested that there be a photo of Jeff added to the slideshow, and unfortunately we didn't comply with that request directly. We did include a photo of a recent site visit, however, that Jeff was on down in God's Country in South Dundas. I know it wasn't in Princeton, Archie, but it was close enough, I guess. And this was a meeting that occurred with a landowner looking to construct a home and a septic system within the regulated area of the floodplain. And this person is also a developer within the area working on actually quite a large subdivision near Morrisburg. And it's actually interesting in this case, it's a 3-generation family of developers. So often you're on site with both Ron and his son and other members of the family. So in this case, there was a bit of a confusion on the ground with where things were going to go, where the floodplain was. And as usual, Jeff used his people skills and his knowledge of the regulation to go out on site and clear everything up for these folks. And I guess it's a good example as well, because we did receive a nice email from Mr. Swank thanking us for our timely service and just expressing how nice it was to work with people. And I think site visits are a big part of what brings that success for South Nation. We actually visit the site and get to know these people and understand what they're looking to do and figure out how to make that work in a safe way. So that's the one, it's not Jeff, but it's some of Jeff's work.
Thank you very much, Allison, and I think we'll accept that. Any question? Seeing none, thank you. Next presenter will be Jeff.
Well, that should have been changed to, sorry about that. That should have been, unfortunately, still no Jeff. But this is another example of some of the work our regulations team does, and it's very similar to the work the septic team does. But last Friday, we received sort of an emergency complaint, and it comes to us often through municipal staff, letting us know that something's going on. Usually if it's environmental related, we're the first call. If it's water, if it's environment. Monday, we completed a site visit, so turned that around very quickly with the holidays approaching. And, you know, this was just sort of a day in the life of a regulations officer. Jeff's day started with the landowner really saying, I don't want you on my property. I'm not giving you guys a dime. And by the time that site visit was over, maybe an hour later, that gentleman was saying, I'm fine to pay the review fees. I'm happy that you guys came out. I'm happy you understand the perspective of agriculture in this watershed. And it completely changed that gentleman's perspective on our regulation and the work that we do. So I think this is a great year-end kind of happy story that South Nation does an excellent job, and the staff specifically do an excellent job communicating our message, working together, and protecting the environment.
Thank you very much, Allison. I have a question, past Chair Bill.
And Mr. Chair, it's a comment, and it is that there are some that say when you have a good discussion, you listen and really hear 75% of the time. And I want to just compliment our departments here for the listening they do and the interactions they have, which indicate that they hear what's being said and they're addressing the concerns that are there. So well done.
I totally agree with you, Past Chair. Thank you very much for your comment. I know it's well taken by the staff, and we keep saying, and I can't emphasize enough how appreciative we are for the South Nation staff, especially on the field, and how they deal with our watershed residents, of course, to making sure understanding the agricultural and of course, the environmental need in our community. So this is amazing. And I have a question from Ashrae.
Mr. Chair, I just can't believe that a farmer would say, I'm not giving you guys a dime and don't want you here. That just baffles me. Sorry, a little humor there. It's early in the morning. I'll shut up.
It is a really tough job to have to go out and do this stuff, but I mean, it's very rewarding. I know I speak for Jeff saying it's very rewarding when you get to leave a property knowing someone does see at least value in paying you that money and doing that work with you. But thanks for those comments, Archie. I understand.
And please, Alison, please conduit our thanks and appreciation for the work Jeff does on the field. So please pass this on for him. Next presenter is Carl.
Good morning again. This is an annual reminder we just float out to the board that there are a series of environmentally and conservation-focused conferences that are available for you to attend. Many of them have unfortunately moved to an online format, at least for the first half of 2021. And I will ask Diane to circulate the full list of conferences that are available in 2021 that have been attended by board members in the past. And we do have a budget to allow for attendance to those, and hopefully some of them will open up to in-person attendance later on in 2021.
Thank you very much, Carl, for the reminder. Any question or comment?
Mr. Chair, I did not participate in any of the virtual conferences this year. I sure appreciate and like being at conferences, the real ones, but could you or someone that attended, one or two, give some comments on what you felt about them and whether we should be interested in looking at the ones coming up early in 21?
Absolutely, Vice Chair. I can comment. I did attend AMO this year. I had a couple delegation. I totally understand and I agree with you. The atmosphere and of course the shows, cases and all that was not the same, and interacting with other municipal partners, of course, and colleagues. This is what conference is all about. You learn best practices, which is, yes, this all components are missing. But for doing a delegation, it was well attended, very professional. They'll give you action code and you attend also. It's like as if you're in a real meeting. Right. So I think it was very well attended from a delegation perspective and business done as usual. But you're right, the other component was really missing. Unfortunately, this is the pandemic. So I think it's very effective for us to have a delegation at Roma. I just spoke this morning to Angela, and then we will be registering for Roma, myself and Angela, and I'm sure if you'd like to register it, especially for those, we have lots of issues and we have lots of, we need to have some discussion with our provincial government, so it's very productive to have those meetings. So that's my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Angela, you want to add anything?
No, I think it's, we are all adapting to this, and time will tell, and it's important that things continue so that it's easy for things to pick back up, because a lot of these things are very important. So.
Thank you, Past Chair Bill, and thank you very much, Carl. And that will probably end our presentation to staff. Thank you very much, staff, and we appreciate those presentations and educate our, of course, board members have an opportunity to ask questions and understand what the work has been done, and it gives our listeners also an idea of what we do throughout the year. So thank you very much for that. I want to take a quick moment before we move forward to our request for approval of the minutes. I want to make sure board members are here. I saw Peggy join, so I want to welcome Peggy. And I saw probably Michael Brown also attended. I just want to make sure who is here from the board. They're both attended after we start. And I just want to mention Past Chair Bill Smurley is here with us in the room. He's also attended. He's waiting inside for the holiday spirit. And thank you very much. If I missed anyone, can you please say your name now?
Mr. Chair, I can do it. I can just do it. I think I have everyone, but I just will do a quick, some members that I'm uncertain of if they're on or not. Francois Saint-Amour, were you able to join? And Michael Brown, you are on the line?
He He is on the
I may
line. I
have-
just muted him because there was some feedback from his line. It's *6 to unmute if you're on a dial-in number.
Karen's on but muted, and Peggy Taylor, is she on but muted as well? Carl?
I am in attendance, Mr. Chair. It's Michael Brown. Thank you. I'll mute myself.
Thank you, Mike.
And sorry, can I ask if
This is Peggy. I am on, and I will mute myself now.
thank you.
Merry
And the
Christmas.
third and final. You too. And the third and final for Francois. Has Francois joined us yet? Okay, thank you.
And we do have regrets from Vice Chair Pierre Leroux and
Danielle Lafleur. Yeah, regrets from Pierre Leroux and Danielle Lafleur.
Thank you very much. We move to our next item in the agenda. It's number 5, request for approval, Board Director meeting minutes of November 19, 20. You find them on your agenda from page 4 to page 10. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Chair Bill, Vice Chair Bill, and Dana. Any discussion? All good? Carried? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Next is B, SNC committee meeting highlights and minutes of Forestry committee meeting minutes of November 24, 2020, around on page 14 to page 19. Rhonda will be presenting. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? I see Peggy and Archie. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's Michelle. I'm covering for Rhonda today. So we had minutes. Summaries is in the report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything you may have.
Thank you, Michelle. Any question? Dana, is your hand up for the question or for the motion? Okay, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Michelle. Item number 2 is Fish and Wildlife Committee meeting minutes, November 24th, 2020, page 20 to 24. Can I have a mover and a seconder? I see Steve and Dana. Thank you. Any question to staff? We have Michelle also covering for that. Seeing none. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, Michelle. The third one is Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committee meeting minutes of November 25th, 2020, on page 25 to page 31. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Chair Bill, Vice Chair Bill, and Archie. Any question? Michelle is here for questions. Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Clean Water Committee meeting minutes of November 30th, 2020, from page 32 to 42. And I need a mover and a seconder for that one also. I see Jerry and I see Bill. Any question? Seeing none. All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion carried.
May I have a comment?
Absolutely, please go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I attend most of these committee meetings on behalf of the executive, and I wanted to say that from time to time, committee members may say, does the council really understand and know what we're doing, and do they approve of these things? And one of the things I point out to them is that their minute with recommendations come to a board meeting, and the board reviews them and does approve. And do we consider their input valuable? Absolutely, because almost never are there changes or suggested changes in the recommendations that come from these committees. So I on your behalf, have assured them that we treat their recommendations and their input very seriously.
Thank you very much for your comment, and I second that, and I echo that because those committees are very important for our business and for what the board decision will be reflected on. So thank you very much for bringing that comment. Moving now to number 6 item in the agenda, new business. A, we have update bill 229, protected support and recover from COVID-19 Act, budget measures 2020. I think it's on page 43, and I'll let Angela handle that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the report is on page number 43. The report itself is fairly brief, just summarizing what has been happening, and I will go quickly through that. But I do want to draw your attention as well in the correspondence section. I've included on page number 92 through number 105. I've included here the submissions that have come from the both the Ontario Federation of Agriculture as well as the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. So I will say a couple of things about the Bill 229. As you may recall, earlier in November, provincial government launched the Protect, Support and Recover from COVID-19, the Budget Measures Act. Schedule 6 dealt specifically with conservation authorities. And there was a number of things in there that people had questions about in terms of governance and in terms of other things and how these changes would affect conservation authorities. Yesterday, I'm pleased to announce that the government did announce a consultation committee that will be chaired by one of our executive directors, Hassan Bassett. I think Hassan is most capable and very competent to help the government in this committee as we move forward, and I suspect there'll be other members of the committee announced as well. So I look very much forward to that engagement, and I think that's an important step to make sure that the changes announced in Bill 229 to the Conservation Authorities Act don't have what we would call unintended consequences. So there's been a lot discussed. The majority of issues I can go quickly over that you had maybe questions about that I've had from individuals. One of the changes was that at least 70% of a municipalities, it was proposed initially that all of a municipality's appointees to a conservation authority board would have to be sitting members of council. And now it's proposed that 70% of those members would be active to council, with a provision for the minister to vary that where he deems appropriate. So they could have more members sitting, probably more similar to what we have. There was clarification provided on the agricultural representatives, and the agricultural representatives, if appointed by the minister, would be done through an appropriate process. We're comfortable with that. And as I said, many of these changes were very consistent with how we did business anyways, but the changes confirm that an agricultural rep would not be permitted to vote on areas that include enlarging a conservation authority, amalgamating a conservation authority, dissolving a conservation authority, or budgetary matters for the conservation authority. So that is clarified in the changes. The chair and vice chair now, as it's proposed, cannot be replaced at the end of their 2 consecutive years by a member from the same municipality. So there's provision for shifting the executive of a conservation authority. Again, by practice, that's what we've always done anyways. So this is not really a change and codifies our existing way of business. And it's also the clause of board members to act only in the duty of their representative municipalities has been changed, and it's reverted back to members shall act honestly and in good faith with a view to furthering the objects of the authority. Again, these are small changes, but I think some important ones. The number of the other ones are procedural. One of the more substantive ones that was added into the Conservation Authorities Act was the provision of ministry zoning orders. So ministry zoning orders generally come from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. That's currently Minister Clark. So those have been added around matters dealing with the Conservation Authorities Act. What we suspect that will mean is that where a project has received a minister's zoning order, the Conservation Authority will be, it will be necessary for the Conservation Authority to work forward with the applicant and assure that the permit can be issued to allow such development. this may be for larger conservation authorities, something that is not been part of their past practice. But again, I think we've generally tried to work alongside applicants to assure that a development can happen in a safe and appropriate way. And we don't think that these things will majorly change within our authority. So for us, the changes in Bill 229, we simply hope that they don't add a lot of administrative burden. So including entering into memorandums of agreement for a multitude of projects. We hope that there can be an approach that works for the municipalities as well as the Conservation Authority, so that that truly can be streamlined, but the municipalities still feel that they have the necessary say and input where municipal dollars are being spent. So I do see that, you know, as the summary, and I do know that there was a real great support across the province from a number of groups for the work of conservation authorities, and so I think we're fairly proud of that at the end of the year, and we hope that it's a common sense approach moving forward. And that's it for mine, and I'm glad to take questions and others.
Thank you, Angela. I know that probably will be multiple questions. We'll start with Bill. Vice Chair Bill has questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Two, really. One, when they talked about the 70%, I'm not sure how that's going to work in, and I'm wondering, are there any other parts that will be there? For example, in a municipality like in South Nation, the municipalities SD and G, they have 3 reps, and 2 of them are councillors, 1 isn't at the present. Well, that wouldn't fit. And I'm wondering if they're even considering half, because that would also be a factor for the city of Ottawa. That would be a factor for Leeds Grenville as well.
Well, quickly, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
through you.
please.
I mean, we all know that 2.8 of a person is difficult to try and calculate. You can't really round up or down on folks. So we anticipate fully what will happen is we'll explain our situation. We will write a letter and we will send it off and see where it goes. It necessitates additional letter writing and additional process,
Yes.
but I'm hoping that through that, there's a common sense approach to this.
Then supplementary, my suggestion for consideration would be that we, instead of the 70, we say it's 50 as a recommendation, and that would meet the city of Ottawa. That would, I think, assist Leeds Grenville, and it might assist others in the future as well. Secondly, and you can redirect this, Mr. Chair, if you wish, I know there was a Conservation Ontario meeting on Monday, and I don't see any place for a summary in here. I suspect part of what you've given us is from that meeting, but were there any ministers speaking at that meeting, and were there any comments that came forth that I might be interested in hearing or others might be interested in hearing?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So we did have a meeting of Conservation Ontario on Monday. Minister Yakubuski, Minister of the Natural Resources and Forestry, was scheduled to take that meeting.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, he had to cancel. And Minister Urich, Minister of Conservation, Environment and Parks, did make a presentation. And at that meeting, that's where he announced a special committee to help with the regulation development, and did appoint Hassan, announced that it would be Hassan that was leading that. And I think that, like I said, I think it's a good choice, because this is very clear that there will be changes, but there's also clearness in the response that there is a desire to discuss this and make sure that the changes as proposed are not going to cause basically an unintended consequence from this.
And finally, one last question, Mr. Chair. One of the parts of the act or the schedule that I noted was that the minister had given him or herself a heck of a lot of authority to make final decisions and absolute decisions with no appeals. Was any of that discussed, or has any of that come up in the discussions? Because I haven't heard it if it has.
I think it's in a number of the submissions that went into the government's office. I'm not sure exactly how they will deal with that. I think there's limited circumstances where they wish this power, and they've taken it upon themselves as they can, as the elected body, to do that.
So there was a lot of discussion around that, and that's why they created that special committee. And we're hoping that Angela will be part of it. Like Angela mentioned, the minister was really open, was not, no, that's what it is. So that's why they have that working group, and most of them are from executive managers from the CAs itself in Ontario. And he was very open about the 70%. So basically, like Angela mentioned, in the city of Ottawa situation or some other municipality, all what it requests a letter from the clerk, and it will be sent through in conjunction with the conservation authority to the minister, and he could make it's in case based on the case scenario. So, and I think we looked at it from our perspective, the city of Ottawa, we're fine with our representative and we'll be okay with what the minister is really directing to us to do. So,
one final comment, I hope, is that when the Conservation Act was brought in the 1940s, it seems to me that the purpose of it was to have decisions made by the locals with the support of the province. And it almost appears that some of that is being changed.
And you're 100%. And some of the comment was from some other CAs and some other representatives saying, if they're going to make the decision, they have to also carry the risk, because there is also liability based on the decision has been made, and the body will make it. So all these discussion and the bolts and nuts of it, and that's why we're hoping that working group that is being right now developed, and we're hoping that Angela will be on that board to be able to relay those issues directly to the minister through that working group. You want to add anything, Angela?
Well, I do, and I said I think it's a positive step forward to hear the concerns, and I don't know that it's understood the scope of some of the changes proposed, and the unintended consequences, and how fast those things will hit different desks that may not be accustomed to the same.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very good question, Past Chair Bill. Thank you very much. I have Archie have one question. Go ahead, Archie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Angela, just wondering, has there been any more clarification or, elaboration on what the core mandate, what the government is trying to say is what is the core mandate for conservation authorities, and what isn't core mandate and would have to be covered under private agreement with the Department of the Municipalities? Has there been any more discussion or any more clarification on that?
It's the same, Archie, as it's been on every rendition. So it's been those flooding and alleviating flooding and permitting for flooding and those types of things, and programs that help with the alleviation of flooding. And then the second one is source water protections and associated programs therewith, and conservation lands and everything that happens on the lands. And then the other one is a Lake Simcoe one. It's kind of thrown in on the end. So there's been nothing more defined on those, but they've also reappeared as they have come across many times. I understand that Francois Saint-Amour has just joined.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay. The only thing I would say, Archie, on that point is they have announced, or they did remove, that they would have regulations regarding the same ready for the budget process for 2022. So we'll have to have some larger discussions about that, because I don't think we're going to see those drop even at the, I think I said the 12th hour, the 11th hour they would drop, and then we'd have to get that all together. I think that provision has been removed as it showed. So as I said, I don't think it's all bad. I just want to make sure that the municipalities can still make the decisions with the Conservation Authority of the programs and services that they want to offer, and that they're not coming from a different office in Toronto where they may not understand the dynamics of the local landscape.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Archie, any supplement question?
Sorry, I hadn't taken my hand down. Thank you, Angela. Thank you.
Thank you, Archie. And I think Dana's hands up, but I think she doesn't have questions enough. Okay. Any other question for Angela or myself concerning Bill 229?
Mr. Chair, really briefly, it's Michael Brown. I first and foremost, I support all the efforts, the letters and the correspondence that have been sent to the province on this issue, on the issue of board composition, amongst other changes proposed. And I think the only thing that I would just note is that, and I think, Mr. Chair, you obviously would know better than most, that the one thing that I've suggested, if there's a concern that perhaps, and my apologies, folks, I know there's some background noise, just give me a second. I know that there is, concern with perhaps what I'll call sort of sometimes the ambiguous appointment process for quote unquote non-elected representatives on the board. And the one thing I would note is that I can't speak to the other counties outside of Ottawa, but certainly for Ottawa, as I've noted to Angela as well, the process for the appointment of citizen representatives in Ottawa to boards and committees is quite robust. It involves, notices in the newspapers, online, a formal application form, submission of a resume, authorization to release personal information to anybody asking for it from the public, a potential interview if necessary, and then a process that ultimately goes before the city council for review and approval. So, ultimately, I would argue that process should lay some sort of, I think, general concern that somehow, appointed people are making decisions that have tax implications. I also think it's a little disingenuous because if that's the concern, you could say the very same thing about police services boards. You could say the very same thing about housing corporations. Many entities have appointed representatives that make decisions that have tax implications that play. The public library board is another one. Like, the point is simply there are many entities that exist that pass budgets that have implications for property taxes or other forms of tax. And no one says that they are somehow illegitimate. So, I personally think the concern on that focus of board composition is misplaced. If the concern is somehow that perhaps one CA closer to Toronto ran amok because of I think internal politics more than anything else, to club everyone else with that sword, it just seems over the top. And as I say, the one thing I've suggested is that if there's some concern with having appointed representatives on the board, one thing that could be done is just to make sure that the process through which appointed members to boards of CAs are appointed, that process involves, as I say, perhaps public notice, perhaps an opportunity to apply, an opportunity to have the applications vetted by a committee of council or whatever before the person is appointed, just to make that process open and transparent. Because, like I say, the one thing I've heard, at least anecdotally from my contacts, not that I have a ton, but in Toronto near Queen's Park, is that the concern is some of the people who get appointed to the boards, it's not terribly clear how the heck they ended up on the board. In other words, it's not clear what the public process was for that person to suddenly be selected to go on the board, other than quote unquote backroom meetings, or quote unquote it was addressed as sort of a backside deal. And as I say, I don't think there's anything nefarious in how people are appointed to our board, and I think the board members and the representation is very thorough, and we have excellent representation. And I'll toot my own horn that I'm a lawyer. I serve on the board. There's an advantage in that. We've had an engineer in the form of Al Perks who served on the board in the past. There was tremendous advantages to that. The non-elected sort of appointed representatives are not often appointed just because. They're appointed because they bring something to the table that benefits the board and arguably the CA overall in having their presence there. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Michael. Well said. And I kind of echo your concern and then your comment that we do have a thorough and robust system in the city of Ottawa, but also, you're right, the cookie cutter doesn't cut it all, and but those are some good, like Angela mentioned earlier in her comment, that we looked at all these, and I don't think, from a South Nation perspective, some of those measures are okay because we already do most of them, and I know that it's the honest and responsibility of municipality how they appoint their members, and I know that from the city of Ottawa perspective, we have this discussion internally because we have 14 members on South and CAs between River Conservation and between South Nation and Mississippi. We won't be able to have 13 councillors serve on those boards, and we know that from a time perspective, from committee perspective. So, point well taken. Thank you very much for your feedback, and I understand your comment. I know Angela and I know Bill have questions. So, Angela, you want to answer that?
Yeah, just a quick one. One thing I overlooked whenever I was making my comments, and I think it's important, again, to say that I think that some of the work we've recognized has been done. The other part of accountability and transparency on those mechanisms is the inclusion now for the recommended or a regulation to have citizen engagement committees involved with conservation authorities. So you'll know ours never disappeared. So they've been around for the 25 years since they've been requested earlier by the province. So those things, again, when you see those things, you say, oh, citizen engagement committee, I think those things are being modeled from best practices, and they're not something that are going to be novel from the CAs from which they were modeled. So I know that our citizens also made citizen appointees to committees have also made a lot of comments on that to these submissions, and we know that those are now coming in the regulation requirement for citizen committees. Again, I don't see that as anything novel for us.
Thank you. Good comment. Pastor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to follow up on some of member Mike's comments and Chair DeRuse's just a moment ago. When I was approached by North Dundas to be a member a number of years ago now, they actually set up an interview with me. I don't know about others, but with me, with the councillors and the mayor and deputy. And they asked me a number of questions about why they thought I was qualified and what I would give them and how I would keep them informed. And what I have done is every month to two, depending on the issues and what's coming up, I do a presentation to council. And they've, over the last several years, considered me one of their committees. So I'm actually asked to send in my report in advance. So it goes out to the councillors in the minutes. And then I actually attend and present to council and am questioned by them. And I've gotten a lot of support from them over the years.
Yeah, that's well said, Bill. And we know that we're really happy to have you as
Thank you.
On the board as past chair and chair before. But this is like you said, there is a lots of they're trying to fix an issue that exists in all Ontario, and you can't take everything and really try to illustrate it in our CA. So there is a lots of problem the ministers and CAs have to work with, and then we're happy that we have that working group right now that it's been assigned by the ministry, and then we're just hoping that Angela will be on that working group, and then we'll keep working and we'll keep pushing forward to the betterment of our watershed. So,
Mr. Chair, if I may. Mr. Chair, if I may, it's Michael Brown. Just briefly, supplemental to what Bill has said as well, I think it's important to remember that the appointed representatives are not, I hate to use this example, but they're not like municipal councillors in that if you engage in bad behavior, unfortunately, for whatever reasons, it seems very difficult to remove a municipal councillor from council once they are elected. I know that there seems to be some movement being proposed, I think actually by MPP Blay to deal with that. But the point is that at this moment, it's very difficult. But with appointed representatives, I am accountable to the council that appointed me. And certainly if I engaged in bad behavior or engaged in practices that were clearly contrary to the advice I've received from council in terms of budgetary goals, council could revoke my appointment at any time. I do not have some magical exemption from that kind of accountability. So once again, that concern that somehow appointed reps are passing budgets that lead to tax implications. I just think that concern is misplaced. And if that's what's motivating this desire to have only elected representatives on boards, it just seems incredibly misplaced.
Well, thank you, Michael. Okay.
And one other comment going along with that is I suggested to one of the questions that the comments that was made by my council was, and I want to say that currently 2 of the board members of South Nation are past elected officials. I may say, I think it's Peggy and myself, both were on councils a number of years ago. And when I was speaking with MPP Jim about this, I mentioned to him that be careful giving big sticks to too many people, or they may be beaten with them.
Yeah, well, comment well done. Well said, past chair, you know it all. So. Okay, so I think we don't have any more questions on that topic, but we do have a recommendation in front of us that the board director receive and file the update on Bill 229, Protect, Support, and Recover from COVID-19 Act Budget Measures 2020. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Past Chair Bill and Steve seconded. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. That was a very good topic and good discussion. So thank you very much all for debating. So our next item is B, update 2020 audit planning. It's on page 44 to 50. And Linda will do the presentation, but we have a recommendation that the board directors receive and file the draft 2020 audit planning letter attached from Baker Tilly, and further that the chair sign the 2020 audit planning letter. Can I have a mover and a seconder on that? Pass Bill and Francois. Okay, any question? And I think I'm not sure if Linda has presentation, but you can go ahead, Linda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, board members. As mentioned, it's on page 44 of the board package. Every year we bring this audit planning letter to the board. It just outlines the auditor's independence and also touches on responsibility both of the auditor and the board of directors. Also, we communicate this to the board, gives them time to review the letter and reach out to the auditor if needed. We do encourage that. If you do have questions about the audit process, do reach out to contact Baker Tilly directly. Just to note, we will be on site like they have been in the past for our audit start, which will be early February 2021, and complete the audit, working towards draft presentation to the March AGM in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. Any questions for Linda? I see none. Thank you. Do we have a? I think we have to have a vote.
We have a motion and we have a mover and a seconder.
Yeah. So all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Linda. Next on number C, request for approval 2021 board and committee meetings schedule. Rhonda and John, I think page 51 to 52, we have a recommendation. The board of directors approved the 2021 board of directors and standing committee meeting dates and submitted, and further that the board directors contact staff if they wish to join the standing committee. Can we have a mover and a seconder, please? I see Francois and I see Ashrae. Any question or discussion?
The comment I would make, Mr. Chair, is that it was pointed out by some or questioned by some of the committee members whether or not they would be able to have a worthwhile virtual meeting in March, as we've done over the last several years. And so I see by the recommendation that we're moving this meeting till November, which I think is excellent.
Well, yeah, absolutely agree with you, Bill. Seeing any other question or comment? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion carried. Next is number D, request for approval, Snowfield Trail Use Agreement. And I don't think we have do we have a recommendation?
Yeah, the recommendation is on page 53.
Yeah, so I flipped too fast, I guess.
I'll read it for you, Mr. Chair. I'll give you, it's Christmas after all.
Okay, so the board directors direct staff to negotiate and enter into agreements with local snowmobile clubs for 2021 snowmobile season. Can I have a mover and seconder on that? Bill? And I see Steve. Any question?
Mr. Chair, I think this is one we do every year, and I think we always try to work with the people in our areas. Do we have any idea of how many we usually sign?
We would sign one. Carl, do you want to take this?
So yeah, I can give a brief overview, and I know we have some new members, so I'll give a very short history. We have approximately 12 properties with snowmobile trails. The snowmobile clubs have moved some of them this year, so we're just trying to, I'm working with Pat, and he's in contact with the OFSC to pinpoint exactly which trails will be in use this year. Last year, there was some changes in the agreement, the typical MOU land use agreement that's sent by the OFSC, and some of our local partner municipalities were very hesitant about signing it with some changes in the indemnity. I know that UCPR and City of Ottawa have worked with the OFSC since then, and what we're recommending is a small add-on to the MOU, which is a schedule which basically holds the OFSC to certain insurance standards, and also includes a bit of a stronger indemnification. So we've taken the same approach and the same wording as UCPR have taken in order to come up with an agreement that allows snowmobilers to get on the property, but also protects SNC from any improper use.
Thank you, Carl. Supplement. Any other question? Thank you, Carl. I know this is I'm heavily involved in that agreement with the City of Ottawa and of course the snowmobile and OFSC and our district fund. So I'm very happy to see that this is been dealt with, and I know that this will protect also our watershed and our organization. So,
Chair Drews, I do see Peggy Taylor stand up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peggy.
Sorry, I sort of dropped away there and missed a few things, but are any of these trails shared with cross-country skiers or four-wheeler people?
Pat has better knowledge of the actual trails. Pat, are you available on the call?
Yes. No, Peggy, none of the snowmobile trails are part of our cross-country ski trail network.
Okay, thank you.
Very good question, Peggy. Thank you very much. I see no other question. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Carl. Hopefully the snowmobile will have a great season this year with lots of snow. So. We'll move to E, request of approval for canoeing and kayaking rental pilot project, and we have a recommendation from us. The SNC Board of Directors approved staff negotiation of 1-year pilot agreement to offer recreational non-motorized watercraft rentals on the South Nation River at High Falls Conservation Area. And further that, the 1-year pilot project is conditional on the private business acquiring appropriate insurance coverage and entering into an acceptable cost-sharing agreement for upgrades and maintenance of amenities at High Falls Conservation Area. Can I have a mover and second, and I will open for questions? I see Jerry and Bill. Thank you. And any questions?
A comment, Mr. Chair. I think it's an excellent direction to be moving. Now, would this be a yearly process? We wouldn't do more than a year in case, if it's successful, number one, others want to come in, and number two, others might be interested in being challengers in the particular area, so that perhaps two companies might be interested in being in an area which might be beneficial. So this would be a 1-year program, and I'm going to be really interested in hearing the comments at the end of the season.
That's a good comment, Bill, and I'm sure staff will present and bring back a report to the board director after 1 year, I'm assuming. Am I right?
Absolutely, yeah, and it'll be great to see how it plays out in a 1-year pilot. We'll bring those findings back to the board for future debate and discussion.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. This is a very good pilot project. I'm really happy that we're looking into it. And any other question from board members?
I have a hand, Mr. Mellon.
Sorry. Archie, sorry about that. Go ahead, Archie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess the Village of Castleman and its individual, they'll be the ones buying and support or supplying the canoes and kayaks. Is that we're just giving them permission to use our dock area?
Yeah, similar. So they'll be using our land to operate the private business, and the agreement will be with the private individual. There's a similar agreement that Rideau Valley had in place for several years that we're piloting this project based on. And basically, like you said, it'll be to evaluate how well this could be going forward. Any expenses that are incurred by the business, whether it's a ramp or any changes to the park, will have to be provided by the individual.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you, Archie, for your questions. Will Peggy have a question?
Yeah, just more of a comment. I think this is a really good idea to give to be doing this there. I know that there are other areas where that sort of an agreement, whether it's with the municipality or with another private business, might be a great thing to see. And I'm thinking of like Iroquois, Cardinal, Morrisburg along the St. Lawrence River in particular. So I'm really looking forward to see how this pans out.
Yeah, and your comments are shared by us as well. It would be really neat to see how this might work at some of our other sites down in your area, especially.
I agree with you, Peggy. I second that one. And Archie, have questions, supplement, I guess.
Yes, it's a supplemental, I guess. I know South Dundas, we have a sports lending library where we have kayaks and canoes for the St. Lawrence, and we'll see how this project goes. You never know, there might be an opportunity for some kind of partnership down the road. Thank you.
You know what? I agree with you, Archie. This could be an opportunity in multiple areas in our watershed and some other municipality and partner and stakeholders. So we'll see how this will go.
And Mr. Chair, following Archie's comment, if I might add, one of the things in my experience over the last 10 years or so with South Nation is that they are most open to suggestions, recommendations, and discussions with municipalities on how we can do better in those areas and work with them in better ways. So that's something I believe that South Nation has been really good at doing, and some municipalities have been good at raising not issues, but possibilities. So share that.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Bill. We have motion, we have mover and seconder. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, John. And moving to update on site sewage permits issued. Allison will presentation. Should be answering the question if we have, but it goes from page 59 to page 60. And we have a recommendation that the Board of Directors receive and file the on-site sewage permits issued update. And we'll have a mover and seconder, please. I see Jerry and I see Bill. Thank you. Any question for Allison? Allison, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the update on the permits that were issued in the month of November, and it was quite a busy month with a number of decommissioning permits that were related to people getting connected to full municipal services in Embrun, which is always a nice thing to see. So yes, that was all for this report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Allison. Any question? I think no question. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Next is, again, Allison, planning activity from page 61 to 64. Recommendation Board Director receive and file the planning activity update. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? I see Steve and I see Francois. Any question And any comment you'd like to make, Alison?
Yeah, we did see similarly quite a busy November for planning. You'll note on the technical reviews, the number of stormwater management reviews. I think we completed about 35 reviews last month. So our technical review team was very busy, lots of development going on, subdivisions being cleared, 2 new subdivision applications received, and we have a pre-consultation for a large extension in the village of Russell that will be coming with our friends from Tartan Homes. So we are looking at what looks to be a busy 2021 as well.
It looked very busy, Alison. Very good job, and we're very happy to see this development. Like we see, the pandemic really slowed down some people, but the planning activity and the building and the development keep moving. And I could see how busy everyone, all our staff members, being to be able to fill that demand. So thank you very much. Any other question or comment for Alison? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Alison. We're not done yet. Probably we have one more item. Request for approval permits, and you find it on page 65 to 67. And that's the recommendation. The SNC Board Director approved 165 to 186 issued under Ontario Regulation 170/06 development interference with wetlands and alteration to shorelines and water courses. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? I see Bill and I see Jerry. Any comment, Alison?
No comments.
Thank you very much. Any question for Alison? I see Archie have a question.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Alice, maybe you could answer the question. I know Jeff's been awful busy, and this year I think there's been a lot of complaints because people sit around and look out their window and find fault with their neighbors. What is our goal as far as resolving any complaint issues? Like if we gotta, try to, keep some of these from dragging on too long, is there a time frame when we like to have some of the complaints and some of the issues that are maybe ongoing resolved by, 2 months, 10 months, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely depends on the complexity, as you can imagine, Archie. Every file is different. Ones where we don't have an explicit role, we definitely try to, meet with the resident on site to sort of provide that initial contact, find out which players need to be involved, if it's the ministry, if it's the province, if it's a different branch. Sometimes it's 2 drainage superintendents, if it's a border drain, all these kinds of things. Connect the players and kind of get ourselves out of the picture as soon as we can. So those are the ones where we don't actually have too much, like there hasn't been an actual violation. If there's an actual violation, they sometimes drag on insofar as we give people time to rectify the issue. For example, the situation up in Dickinson's Creek, that person tried to reconstruct the drain, didn't do it right, and ended up reconnecting to another drain. He has to fix that. Then he started working on the neighbor's land without prep. Some of them do drag on where we're directly involved and we're trying to get an outcome for the drainage, for the environment. But I would say the ones where we don't have an actual permitting role, where we're just called in as a member of that community of practitioners, we do extricate ourselves as quickly as we can. And as we've mentioned, these are ones where we don't, you don't get the money back on some of those files, but you do add a lot of value to the municipal service. I think the staff at the municipalities see a lot of value there. So that is something for the board to be aware of, that there are files where we spend quite a bit of time working with the municipality as a partner, but we're not necessarily going to be getting a permit fee on the end of that. So.
Supplemental if I can, Mr. Chair. I understand that, some of these are, complicated and, playing referee between homeowners or neighboring, but all I would ask maybe, or maybe staff does that already, but just to keep the parties, I guess, if you will, in the loop, so that they realize, that, just a simple email that, we're working on this or whatever. So I'm not getting phone calls, what's going on with this one, or, and, it's the wrong thing for the board of director, a member of the board of directors to get involved in these issues because it could jeopardize the outcome if it ever goes to an appeal board or whatever. So just make sure that the landowners are in question, involved in any disputes, are kept abreast of what the actual status of that file is. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Archie.
Thank you very much, Archie. Very good comment. And Pastor Bill, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just, before we approve this request for filing or receiving and filing, I also want to comment on the number of permits and the number of interactions our staff have had. And I'm amazed by it and really pleased. I also want to say that my comment earlier was part of a good discussion is probably listening 75% of the time. And I believe our people do that. And if you look at the complaints issues and look at the outcomes, some of them will drag on and some for various reasons. But part of why they're resolved is because there's listening and hearing and discussion and understanding rather than finger pointing and yelling. So compliments.
Totally agree with you. And we hear this throughout our presentation from staff, and we hear it also as elected official and board members. We hear it also from the public all the time. So thank you very much. And thank you, Allison, on behalf of the board for the presenting on behalf of Jeff. Next one we have, all in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, Carrie, thank you very much. See, I recovered very quick on that one. Next item, 3 items. It's an update 2020 year-end reports, and we start with the first one, which is property and approvals, and we have a recommendation for directors receive and file the 2020 property and approvals year-end report. I have a mover and seconder, Jerry and Daggy. Any comment or from staff or?
They're mostly for information,
yeah.
Mr. Chair, but we'll take any questions that exist.
So any question from the board members? I'm sure all of you received it, and I'm sure you went through it. There was a lot of information. Bill.
Mr. Chair, I'm impressed when I look at the number of areas and the amount that's been achieved. And if I remember correctly, there was a pamphlet or a folder passed out in past years telling what has been done. Will this be done again this year so that the public, if they're interested, and I think they are, would be able to just go through and observe the different things that are being done? Because I think it's great, and I think we need to let people be aware now. And having it on the website, which some people look at more than I do, but having a hard copy is really quite important.
Yeah, I think the idea was to try and track this year over year, so we would get a sense of our accomplishments, and I think that information, we can make sure it's available in a way that's easy to digest. Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. Any other question? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carried. Next one is the board of directors receive and file 2020 science and research year-end report. Mover and seconder, please. I see Bill and I see Archie. Any questions to staff on that item? Seeing none. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And last but not least is page 84. And the board director received and filed the 2020 organization effectiveness year-end report and submitted. Can I have a mover and seconder? Bill and any question for staff? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Next is our financial report, which is on page 88 to 91, and we have a recommendation. The board of directors receive and file the money received report for November 2020, and further that the board approve the disbursement of register of $534,447.96 for November 2020. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Bill and seconded by Jerry. And any question? Any comment? Seeing all in favor? Motion carried, thank you. I guess now we move to supplement agenda.
Which there is one.
Which there is one, and it's one item, isn't it?
Two.
There are two items.
Sorry, one A, one B.
And Mr. Chair, I have to say on all these things, we've been doing a lot of partnership development work, and we've had a lot of opportunities on partnership development as of lately. So some of these requests have come with really short timelines, and I don't know what that is exactly a reflection of, but often we'll get something and they'll want a decision in, 10 business is usually the approach. So I'm going to turn this report over on page 3 and 4. And sorry, which staff member? Michelle has this one, and Mr. Chair, I'll give you your job back. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your job here.
I'm glad I understand, and there is some stuff, it's time sensitive, and we agree with that. Maybe I'll go with the recommendation, and we'll, recommendation, the board of directors approve the submission of proposal to Mohawk Council of Aquatic and Department of Environment to provide flood management, mitigation strategy development services for the Akwesasne flood management and mitigation project. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? And we'll turn it to Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the report is on page 3. So we were approached by the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne's Department of the Environment to prepare a proposal for flood management and a mitigation project that they are working on. So we've been partners with the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne for many years now, and we have a very good working relationship with them. And so they've sent this request to us because of our experience with our floodplain work. Our engineering team is very successful with their floodplain projects and have a lot of experience and expertise to be able to provide for this. So the proposal is asking for a flood vulnerability gap analysis to be prepared, as well as collecting some local flood data around Akwesasne. And we also are looking for recommendations on where they should focus efforts in the future on floodplain mapping for their area. And they're also looking for some training, specifically in ArcGIS, on how to prepare some of that flood mapping to one of their environmental field technicians. So there's going to be some one-on-one training provided as part of our proposal. And as Angela mentioned, it's a very short turnaround time. The proposal deadline is December 23rd. And then the contract will be awarded by January 15th, and the project has to be completed by the end of March 2021. So all in all, it's a very short turnaround for proposals and a short turnaround for the project itself as well, but well within our staff's capabilities. So the idea is that if we are successful, we will bring a report back to the board with all the details, requesting approval to enter into a service agreement with the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne.
Thank you very much, Michelle. And I have a question. We start with Steve from the...
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I just wanted to suggest that the fact that you're able to turn this around so quickly is a testament to the work that's been done that came before and some of the tools that we've invested in. And I think, although sometimes it's challenging, I think the fact that staff is able to step up so quickly is just reinforcement of the great job that has come before to put you in a position to be able to satisfy that request. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. And I'll be sure to pass that along to our engineering team as well, because it's really their skills and their expertise that are letting us providing us the opportunity for this proposal.
Good comment. Thank you very much, Steve. We move to past chair Bill. I have a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to support what was said by the previous speaker, but also, does the staff have the available time to do this in the next month or so, or will they have to take on additional support?
I think we're capacity to do that. So I've spoken in detail with Sandra. If we do receive a lot of success with the National Disaster Mitigation Program later in the year, then we would have challenges. We think we can fit this work in the earlier first quarter of 2021.
And if I might add something that was said earlier, we have had an excellent relationship with the Mohawks of Akwesasne, and I think working with them is very worthwhile.
It's very important. I think you have one more comment, Mr. Chair.
Are you done with it?
Yes, thank you.
Archie?
Yes, I was concerned about the short time frame that you're looking at this. The contract will be awarded on January 15th. Will that have to come back to the board on the 21st for us to approve it? And if it does, we've lost 5-6 days. I'm going to recommend that if the contract is approved on the 15th, that we're giving approval to go ahead and do it today, because we got a short time window as it is. Instead of that, for staff, probably will be starting already by the 15th if it's awarded on the 15th. But if it has to come back to the board on the 21st, there's days there that I'm going to hazard to guess that they don't probably have a whole lot of extra days. So why don't we just give them the permission to go ahead if they're successful in the bid, because there's going to be cost recovery, that when the contract is awarded on the 15th, that it doesn't necessarily have to come back. It can come back to the board on the 21st as a report, but not for approval, as I understand it.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I support the speaker, and I'm wondering if that could be incorporated into the recommendation.
I see Angela's taking note, and we'll take one more question from Peggy, and then Peggy?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, so long as whatever they end up coming out with remains cost recovery. So as it's presented right now, it is. But if it were to come back with a change that is going to recover, where it's not 100% cost recovery, then I think it should be brought back to the board.
I see there is a consensus with the board members on that. So Angela, we need any...
Do you wish to read the resolution, Mr.
If
Chair?
you don't mind, please.
Certainly. So I will reread in the full resolution. The Board of Directors approved the submission of a proposal to the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne Department of Environment to provide flood management / mitigation strategy development services for the Akwesasne Flood Management and Mitigation Project. And further that, if successful in their proposal, staff be authorized to enter into the contract to complete the work on a cost recovery basis. I have the initial recommendation moved by Archie Mellon, seconded by Dana Farkashu. And I'll just ask if the original proposers of the motion would be okay with that.
We can vote on the whole thing.
First, we need to make sure they're okay with the amendment, and then we can, yes.
Archie Mellon here. I'm good with that amendment, Angela.
Thank you, and Dana, and I think everybody, anyone has a comment or we have a comment on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is, we're still in the supplement agenda. We have a recommendation that the board of directors receive and file the National Disaster Mitigation Program Intake 6 Submissions Update. Have a mover and seconder, please. Bill and Jerry. Question, comment?
Well, Mr. Chair, I think it fits into what we do, and I think it will be a good program to go on with.
Thank you, Bill, for your comment. I see Peggy have a comment or question. Go ahead, Peggy, please.
I'm just wondering, as I read through these, they're not all included in the budget as we've brought it forward for 2021. And I guess my head's just not comprehending how much additional funding we might be looking for out of the budget with the changes here, with projects 1 and 4 not included in it.
Good question, Peggy. Angela will answer that question.
So the net costs of anything that's not included are coming in from the partners. So there's no net additional impact to our budget for cost to us, other than if there's additional funds received, but there's no actual additional cost, and it's the partners that have made contributions to do what you would call the contribution piece, or the contribution that would be required. The matching funds are not coming in addition to what was proposed in our budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Peggy, for the good questions. And Archie.
I guess my concern is on this one that, you know, especially on number 5, we've got quite a few partners in there now, but we're looking to do a floodplain mapping in quite a large area. And what happens if some of the partners in that area don't want to go ahead with it? Like SDG, they're on board with it. North Dundas has confirmed financing, but what happens if a couple other of the partners within the municipalities do not want to take part in this? How do you work around? I guess you just jump from area to area if they're not interested in putting up money to do this project.
I think so. The project began smaller. It over time, with everyone's sort of collaboration and interest, got bigger and bigger. We started it, and it's kind of become something that is, became huge in terms of getting a whole bunch of county resolutions and other things that honestly, Archie, at the beginning of this, I wasn't expecting, especially this many counties to come on board with full support. So how we will do it, if successful in it. The other thing that I should tell you on this one that was very positive, which makes me think that there's support for this project, is that the Ministry of Natural Resources, actually, while they didn't give money to it, they've now supported $90,000 worth of staff time to help with the interpretation of this. So my feeling on this project is it has a lot of momentum behind it, it has a lot of support behind it, and it actually has a lot of confirmed financial contributions behind it. So unfortunately, it sort of is our area where we don't have everything confirmed. And if we're not able to proceed in some of those municipalities, we would simply allow them to opt out of it. And the cost will be correspondingly dealt with. But it would be nice in our watershed if everyone agreed. In the other areas, the approach that had happened was that some of the larger counties really got behind it. And in our case, I think it does look like a lot of the municipalities are confirming it on an individual basis. So, that's my most honest assessment of it, is if certain municipalities don't want in on it, then we will have to remove them from the proposal. But having said that, the lion's share of the funding, a good, 85 to 90% right now is all confirmed.
That's a very good.
So it's a 10% plus or minus. So really, it does become the 10% plus or minus on the contingency of the project.
So, Archie, good. Thank you. No supplement.
We'll just see how this plays out. Hopefully, like you say, Angela, everybody takes part in it. But if there is someone that doesn't think it's beneficial for them, at least we have sort of a contingency we can fall back on.
Well, and this is very good to have contingency plans. So thank you very much, Angela, for the explanation. And thanks, Archie, was a very good comment and question. So on the motion, on the recommendation we have in front of us, all in favor? Thank you very much, and motion carried. That will conclude our supplement agenda. And number 9, we have correspondence. Of course, we have 3 letters, one AMO, and we have a letter AMO submission to Standing Committee on Finance and Economy Affairs, Bill 229. Most of you have it in your package. We also another AMO letter to Premier Doug Ford on Finance and Economy Affairs, Bill 229 again. And also we have Ontario Federation of Agriculture submission to Standing Committee on Finance and Economic Affairs, Bill 229. You find them all in your package between page 92 and 105, as communicated on the agenda. Any question, comment? Received? Yeah.
Mr. Chair, a comment I have is that I think the ministry now knows that we listen here and are concerned about what's coming, and we feel comfortable at interacting with them and making strong suggestions.
And you know what, Bill, you made a fair comment, and they're listening. And that's Angela and myself when we attended the CAs and conservation authorities, and every time we submit a letter and we see that, and it's so nice to see all the municipalities are engaged also and sending those support letters, and it was very good exercise. And one positive about it, where we felt very confident, and then that's based on that we have that working group now that's going to be working with the ministers, with the ministry, that we have CAs will be on board to be able to submit and will be conduit to our comment to the ministry. So that's very good. Thanks. Any other comment or question from the board? So next will be, we have some dates for upcoming meetings. Third Thursday at 9 a.m. unless indicated otherwise. Our next meeting will be, first meeting for January 2021 is January 21st. How's that?
I hope it's lucky.
And we also have Roma Conference January 25th and 26th. And of course, we have meeting in February 18, 2021, and OGRA Conference is February 22nd and 25th. And we have our annual general meeting, March 18, 2021, and April 15, 2021, another board meeting. So we have any further motions to the board and or discussion of SNC issue?
Mr. Chair, there's a couple updates.
Absolutely.
So members of the board, I just wanted to let you know of a number of things that have been happening. They didn't make their way to specific board reports, this agenda, but I think we can anticipate seeing some of those at our January 21st meeting. The staff have been in discussions with the municipality of Edwardsburg Cardinal. They are working on some economic development projects within the municipality. So I think we will maybe hear an update on Edwardsburg Cardinal matters, and we'll look forward to that in the month of January. I do have a meeting still on Monday regarding this on the 20, whatever that is. All the meetings are keeping on going. I also have a meeting tomorrow with Ducks Unlimited to discuss some partnership opportunities within the watershed. So I did want to make the board members aware of that, and I think it's important during these times to make sure we're collaborating with our partners. I also had a call this week with the Insurance Bureau of Canada on a potential project having to do with floodplain, and I think that meeting, I know that meeting is actually happening right now, so I have a co-presenter on that call for us. This development with the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne has been important. We also have had some inquiries and meetings, and we have some coming up with Leeds Grenville for potential additional educational partnerships at the Agroforestry Center. And we also have some interest from one of the local First Nations groups to discuss some healing lodges on some of our properties as well. So it has not been, it's a rush to the finish line, and I anticipate we'll have lots to discuss in January as these projects hit our agendas. So thank you for an excellent year, and thank you for always your support and thoughtful debate on matters. So it's been a great but busy year, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela, on this update, and we understand and we realize how hard you and your team work to provide updates and keep our watershed protected. So thank you very much for that. I do any question or comment for update for Angela on the update? Seeing none, I don't want to put Catherine, Councilor Kidd. Oh, Peggy, go ahead.
Sorry, it's the computer is very slow at the raising. I'm just wondering, Angela, if you could give me a call when the meeting's over.
Sure, that'd be great.
Thank you.
I don't want to put Catherine on the line. Catherine, are you on the line? Councilor Kidd?
I'm here.
This is your first full meeting, I'm assuming you attended, so I know it's the last meeting in 2020, but do you want to say a few words? We didn't give you opportunity at the beginning, but we're really happy to have you here, and I know that's at the first meeting, and in South Nation, the first term, it's like drinking from the water hose, but there's a lot of information and good information coming from our watershed. So you want to have a comment or something, please go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. No, I've been learning a lot, taking lots of notes. I'm very happy to be here and to get involved. Unfortunately, I have a recurring conflict. I'm on the Community and Protective Services Committee, which meets regularly at the same time as South Nation. But when I am not in attendance, I always send someone from my office to take notes and relay back to me. So looking forward to being more involved in 2021, and congratulations to you all for all the hard work and the great work that you do. Happy to be here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. Really appreciate engagement and involved in this, taking interest in the South Nation, and make sure you relate this to your staff. Our staff members here at South Nation, they're very happy to answer any question while you review the agenda, so don't feel free to reach out to them and contact them. They're very friendly, they're awesome, they know their files very well, so please reach out if you have any question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other comment, or anybody like to wish something or say something before we close the session? Well, seeing none, thank you very much all. I wish that you'll take some time and relax this Christmas holiday. I know it's going to be a little bit different, not celebrating with lots of family or things, but let's take time to reflect and enjoy our family. And I hope you'll be safe, and I'm looking forward to see you all in 2021. Thank you very much. I don't think we have any closed sessions, so we have a recommendation board director meeting of December 17, 2020 be adjourned. Thank you.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
John, can you please call me? John, is Dana. Can you please call me?
Of course, I'll call you in just a moment.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.